Congresswoman Jacobs, the Trump administration and Elon Musk have packed in a lot of cuts, layoffs, and orders into the past 2 months. Break down the impacts of all of this for San Diegans.
Whether it's the immigration raids that we are seeing happen. There was just one last week in City Heights where a man was deported in front of his small kids while he was taking them to school. Whether it's the cuts we're seeing to NIH, which is going to have a huge impact to our ability to do research and science at UCSD, at SDSU, at other places here in San Diego. We're already seeing prices go up from the uncertainty around tariffs and especially around, the things we need to build housing like lumber and steel that come from Canada, which, the last thing we need here in San Diego is for our housing costs to go up when we need to be bringing them down. And I've heard from so many federal workers who are losing their jobs, are uncertain about their jobs.
Congressman Vargas, you're a trained lawyer, a student of history, really. Mm-hmm. How significant is the Trump administration's defiance of that court order to turn around 2 planes full of alleged Venezuelan gang members last weekend?
Usually when it gets to a court order, obviously the government, whomever's in power, doesn't like it, but they abide by it. I mean, that's sort of the separation of powers. That's kind of the game, the rules of the game. But here you see Trump really trying to get to a confrontation with the judiciary. And that's why I think you see even someone as mild-mannered as the Chief Justice saying, hey, that's not what you do. You don't try to impeach the guy that's a judge. You appeal it. That's the way we've done it for 200 years. But in this instance, you see that Trump really does want to, I think, get to this constitutional issue.
If this all goes to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court rules against the Trump administration, President Trump has said he will abide by a court order. Do you believe him?
No, I don't. I think it's the old, the courts made their decision. Let's see how they enforce it. The old historical rule. So I don't think so. I think he may say, oh yeah, we're abiding by it, but they don't. I mean, in history, this is a big deal. When you have a president like this thinking he's a king, and you have the Congress sort of sitting on their hands. Not all of us, obviously, we're not, but the people who are in charge, the Republicans, are. It's very dangerous.
So more on the rule of law and court orders. Congressman Levin, you spent part of your career as a lawyer. The Trump administration arrested a green card holder who led some of the pro-Palestinian protests at Columbia University last spring and deported a Brown University med school professor to Lebanon. And now we're getting news that a Georgetown University academic was picked up by masked immigration agents. What's the message that the public should take from all of this?
Well, I see it as a huge reversal from where Republicans were just a few years ago when they were staunchly advocating for the First Amendment, when they were talking about cancel culture and saying that somehow their free speech rights were being impeded at universities and across the country. And clearly now, they do not have that same desire to protect free speech for those whose views they disagree with. I was just on the phone earlier today with the daughter of a couple constituents of mine, Gladys and Nelson Gonzalez. They came to the United States in 1989 from Colombia. They were here for 35 years, and they paid their taxes. They never so much as got a speeding ticket for 35 years. Kids, grandkids. And the only mistake they made is they went to their recent immigration appointment. They'd gotten bad legal advice about their status, and they were just deported to Colombia. These are people who have not committed any kind of crime.
And it seems that the people who are dispensing legal advice are a target too. Congresswoman Jacobs, the Trump administration is going after law firms that have defended its perceived enemies. One of those law firms is Perkins Coie. They've got an office here. What does this mean for the democratic right of defense?
I am very concerned that what we are seeing is a systematic dismantling of our rights as citizens and as people living here in the United States, and a dismantling of the separation of powers, where we have three co-equal branches of government, co-equal, but Congress is preeminent. That's why we are Article 1. And we are seeing the Trump administration just completely erode all of what has made American democracy what it is.
Congresswoman Jacobs, Congressman Levin, Congressman Vargas, thank you so much for speaking with me.